Hi guys, I am Madison Vining. I'm married to my middle school sweetheart, Tyler Vining. We have 6 beautiful kiddos and we live in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma with a whole bunch of farm animals. A month ago, it will be a year since we left the tippy top of another company, to come over here and jump in with Modere because we could not unsee what you guys were doing. So there's 4 things that I feel like are imperative to be successful at this and honestly kind of just successful at anything. I don't usually speak in cheesy acronyms, but I'm going to today. So this is my son. He was 3 when this picture was taken. He's 13 now. I have his permission to share this picture with you. It actually used to hang in our entryway on a 20 by 30 canvas. We're going to use the acronym CAPE, C-A-P-E, to help us remember these 4 super important things. So the first is C. And by the way, you guys have heard this stuff before. It's not new or groundbreaking, but there's a reason why people who are successful give this advice that has like this common thread woven throughout. And it's because you can't avoid doing these things. They're really, truly that important. So the C is for consistency. The best thing and the worst thing I feel like about being an entrepreneur are the same thing. And that's the fact that the work we do is flexible. There's no one telling us when to clock in, when to wake up, what to wear, when we can take a break, when we can be sick, when we can go on vacation. And that's awesome. It's flexible. But sometimes we take that as it being optional. And it is not. We cannot have $1 million dream on a minimum wage work ethic. I actually wrote that on my mirror about 9 years ago, and it's been something that I've kind of kept in the back of my mind. And so we have to be the leaders who go first. The second question is, should I get paid for the work that I did today? So what consistency looks like for me on like a logistical level each day, I have been showing up and trying my best to add value on social media for 10 years now. And really, it's different every day. I don't pre-plan things, but I show up and I kind of follow a similar framework every day. I get up, I get moderately dressed, not like anything glamorous, kind of like grocery store ready. Pants great, bra great, both stellar. And I get on and I just say good morning to my people, my Instagram friends. I feel like I can't really talk about other things with them until I've shown up and told them good morning. And then from there, I really just go through my day and I am on kind of an Easter egg hunt for things that make me feel grateful, things that I find to be beautiful or funny or inspiring, and I just kind of pop in and share. Inserting this discipline into my life years ago has blessed more than just my business. It's really blessed me. A little life hack: the more you're looking for things to be grateful for, the more you will find them. And so just being in that place and operating from a place of gratitude, it has been so fruitful for my business, but also just for me. Then as I'm going through my day, I make sure I put in monetized content. So I show up, I talk about Modere products, or I talk about the business or whatever it is that we're doing. So the last thing on the topic of consistency is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. There are a lot of people that are more talented than me, that have college degrees, that are more effortlessly funny or magnetic or creative. But I know that I can keep up with them or even run laps around them because I will just outwork them. I will work while they're watching Netflix. I will persevere when they are stumped by an obstacle. I will adapt when they get comfortable. And so that option to just outwork everybody is available to you too. And so don't be intimidated when you know that you can trust you and how you're going to show up and be consistent. So the A is for authenticity. You've probably heard, be yourself so that those who are looking for you can find you. That is legit. And I think the holdup for people when they're thinking about showing up as their authentic selves is they're worried about rejection or being unfollowed. And I will tell you, those things will happen. I'm unfollowed at minimum 100 times every day on Instagram. And if I let that get into my head and I pictured like 100 people in a room with me looking at me and being like, nah, and like walking out, it would make it really hard for me to show up and be myself and continue to put myself out there. But for every 100 people who unfollow me, 100 plus people each day also choose to follow me. And so I view it as my following being refined, as finding my people. There's a book by John Gordon. It's called The Energy Bus. And if you haven't read it, read it. There's also a children's version. Get it for your kiddos. Basically, like the summary of it is that you are driving a bus and you're at the bus stop and you're watching all these people like kind of look at your bus and then keep walking and choose not to get on, and they're getting on other buses. And you're kind of like obsessing a little bit over like, why are they not getting on my bus? Like if I could just get them on my bus, maybe if I like had them take a second look, they would choose my bus. But all the while you have a bus full of people behind you waiting to go wherever it is you want to take them. And those are the people who are worthy of having your priority, of your time and your energy. And truthfully, there's some of those people who are not getting on your bus. If they would have got on your bus, they would have ruined the ride for everyone. I don't know if you've ever wanted to kick someone off your bus, but that book is so fabulous. Last thing on authenticity, no one wants to follow 10 social marketers who are carbon copies of each other, who are posting the same graphics and they're speaking kind of the same generic language. They're saying, this business changed my life, shoot me a DM graphic, you know. People want you to show up and be personal and specific and like they need connection. And so though you might be tempted to blend in, you are hardwired by your creator to stand out. So step into those things that are gifted in you and let other people see them. They're looking for them. The P is for priorities. I think Dave Ramsey said, I think it's him, someone very smart, that's not me, said, if you don't tell your money where to go, you'll be at the end of the month wondering where it went. And the same is true for our time. If you don't tell your time where to go, you'll get to the end of each workday and you're gonna wonder where it went. So really, when you say, I don't have time, like when you get to the end of your day and you're like, I didn't have time to do that, really what we're saying is I did not make that a priority. That is not a priority to me because we had the time, but we gave that time, we gave that energy away to things that we prioritized above whatever the thing was. And so I feel like putting that little check and that little self-reminder and changing that, that phrase in our mind is really important to hold ourselves accountable. So the E is for eliminating excuses. Deciding up front that excuses aren't going to be what keeps us from what is meant for us. Justin Prince calls it the straight line commitment. The shortest way between here and there is a straight line. You can get there going like this, yes, but it's going to take a lot longer. And so if we can just commit up front and we're not going to let excuses be what holds us back and hold firm to that, we're going to have such an easier time. The biggest excuse that I hear personally is I don't have a large following. I don't have a large influence. And to that, I have several things to say. The first thing is that you can change that. You can grow it. If you see somebody who has a large following, they downloaded the Instagram app day one and it was a big fat 0, but they showed up and they added value over the course of most likely years to get to where you're seeing them now. And so there is not like a haves and a have-nots when it comes to Instagram following. There is a path. And it takes that consistency, authenticity, priorities, but you can build it. In the meantime, while you are building it, I want to communicate to you that having a small following is a superpower in 2022. And I'll tell you why. There's 2 reasons. The first is that brands, companies, historically, they have spent their marketing budget on commercials, on newspaper ads and magazines, billboards, all those kinds of things that are kind of dinosaur advertising models. Then there was a shift to hiring celebrities to endorse products. If Michael Jordan was talking about it in the 80s and 90s or whenever, like that was awesome. And then there was another shift, and influencers kind of arrived on the scene, these mega influencers. And there was a higher conversion to sales because these people felt more like us than Michael Jordan, obviously. But there's been another shift, and that shift, and I work with brands all the time. I've done sponsorships with the top brands, and I'm learning and I'm seeing this shift. They would rather take that marketing budget now in 2022, and instead of hiring one macro influencer to talk about their product, they would rather have 100 micro influencers. Micro influencer meaning 500 followers, 1,000 followers, 5,000 followers. And the conversion into sales is so much higher because these are our neighbors, our friends, our sisters, and we trust what they have to say. I don't necessarily know that Kim Kardashian uses Neutrogena face wash. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical on that. But when my next door neighbor tells me that she just read the most amazing book ever, I am Amazon priming it before she's even done talking because her endorsement carries weight with me. I know her. The second way that having a small following is a superpower, and I get people who say this to me all the time, I really want to show up and talk about the business side of Modere, but I'm not seeing a ton of success yet, and so I have to kind of wait. And I want to encourage you guys to do the opposite. I was so loud and proud about the first $100 I made in network marketing 9 years ago. And a couple people jumped in with me right away because $100 sounded great to them too. But what's really cool is as I kept showing up and I kept inviting them on my journey, and what was happening was people would say, you know, I've been watching you for 6 months and you've doubled your income and mine has kind of stayed the same. Or I've been watching you for a year and it looks like you're having a blast and I'm really miserable in this cubicle still. And people would join me all along the stages of the journey because I showed them the path. And often, like if you just start following someone and it seems like they've achieved it, they're there, they have their dream and 1 million followers and all the things, you don't always see a path from where you stand to where they are. And it can feel like, I don't know, that's a really great gap. I don't know if that's for me, or I don't see a path for me. But when someone has lit the path, like literally lit up the trail for you to walk behind them, you can see and envision yourself doing what they are doing. And so share that journey from the beginning. Last thing I'll say on excuses, it's never been easier to make money than in 2022. My grandpa sold mason jars for a living. He sold Kerr fruit jars. And he had like this display in the back of his trunk, and he like drove around town and drove around the surrounding towns and went to like trade shows basically and demonstrated them. And, you know, back in the day, like all the days up until like just the last few years, if you wanted to start a business and add an income stream to your life, you had to go out, get a business license. You had to go get a brick and mortar or some sort of like roadside cart or, you know, whatever, like my grandpa in the back of his truck. You had to go, and the only people whose eyes you could get on your product were those you could physically reach out and touch, like people in your town or surrounding towns. And it was a grind. You were like away from your family, you know, all these things. And now, like, I just imagine myself talking to my grandpa and being like, it's hard. You know, I have to sit on my couch in my pajamas with my kids, and like I can sell collagen to someone in India with the click of a button. Like, it's hard. And it's not, you guys. It's literally never been easier. And so if you have an excuse, even one that sounds really good and it pops into your head, like just envision yourself running that excuse by like my grandpa or your great grandpa. We are set up for such success, not only with social media, but with Modere. They've given us the tools to succeed. And so, again, just decide up front that excuses are not going to be a part of your journey. Those are the 4 things. I mean, that's the framework, not just for this, but for everything, for marriage, for parenting, for like consistency, authenticity, honesty, priorities, and eliminating excuses. That can get you from where you are to wherever it is that like success feels like for you. The world right now needs people who are reaching their potential. They need people who are refusing the victim mindset that I almost feel like is being pressed onto us. The world needs leaders who are alive and are leading other people, lighting the way for others. And I'm convinced that y'all are those people, and I am cheering for you. So thank you guys so much.